All right. Good morning and welcome to Run Good Lifestyle, the Sportsbook edition. And today we have a lot to talk about, but the breaking news yesterday, Brian Hartline leaving Ohio State and going to USF. And obviously this was probably a long time coming. He's done such a great job. And really the main thing that I think we're going to miss most. Well, I think we're going to miss a lot, but the main thing we're going to miss is his recruiting, and he's a hell of a wide receivers recruiter. I mean, his resume at Ohio State in the NFL all were spectacular, and obviously, I not there to watch him coach, but obviously he has gotten the best out of his talent. I mean, he's obviously recruited very, very, very high level talent, but he's also developed them into being stars. I think that he can take a great player and make him one of the greatest. I think he can take a good player and make him great. And obviously, you have to have the type of talent and the type of person that's willing to put in the work and do the things, but he obviously has that it factor when it comes to not only picking talent but also developing talent. Now, does that carry over to the head coach position where now you're wearing multiple hats? And that remains to be seen, but I think from what I've been hearing that he's going to be great. So, and he's had a great mentor in Ryan Day, and also say what you want about Urban Meyer, he was a winner, and he obviously got to learn under Urban also. So I see Sammy the Bulls here. Welcome, Sammy. I don't know that I can hear you. I don't know if anybody else can hear you. We're having some Run Good Lifestyle technical issues, and I'm sure it's on me. So I hope you can hear me, Sam.
Can you hear me? I can hear you.
Well, it's just crazy. I don't understand. I mean, I definitely need to find some help on how to utilize some of this technology, but I'm going to move forward and hopefully we can get it worked out. If not, we will, you get to listen to me. So back to Brian Hartline. I think he's walking into a position at USF where it's a stepping stone position. I mean, I forget who was just there, who just left, but he took the Auburn job, I believe, and it's been notorious uh, stepping stone for other coaches. And where does Hartline? What's his goal from here? Is he looking for a bigger job, or I think that's the plan. Maybe at some point even coming back to Ohio State. And it's interesting. I'm sure he was contacted by some of the other bigger. Well, I shouldn't say bigger. USF's a pretty good job. Just for a lot of reasons. They have the talent pool in Florida that is incredible. If it's not the best talent pool, it's in the top three. I think you have California, I think you have Ohio, and I think you have Ohio, Pennsylvania. I think that's they're similar, and then you have Florida. I think Florida's just hotbed of talent, and that's why I just don't understand the struggles of Florida State and Florida. But another topic. I get off topic, get rambling, but so I think it's a great opportunity. But I'm sure he had the opportunity and to go to like a Penn State, maybe even Sammy the Bull says he did not. I don't know. I bet they talked to him. I can't believe that they didn't give a phone call. Now, was he interested? I don't think he wanted to go to Penn State, but anyway, I wish him the best. I think it's a great opportunity for him. to shine. I really think he's a Buckeye through and through, or he would have been gone, 1 or 2 years earlier. And I do think this was a hard decision for him. So hopefully, hopefully we can move forward with this year. He said he's going to stick around and do his best to help us win another national championship. And he was an integral part of our offensive play calling, and I think he did a good job. I don't know how much of influence Ryan Day had on him during his tenure as play caller. But I think Ryan Day will be okay. And I listened to on that topic. I listened to the press conference with Ryan Day when he was addressing some of these questions, not only about the national championship, but about Brian Hartline, and he made a really great point. I think he handled it perfectly. The question was basically, how are we moving forward with recruiting, and how do we tell the players coming in that where we're going to be next year? And his statement was concise and clear, and he basically said, "My job is to sit in front of these players, these parents, when we're recruiting them, and letting them know that my job is to put their kid or put that person in the best position possible with talent around him to coach him and make him a better person, and that's my job." And he's basically went on and just said, "And I think I've done a pretty good job, and it comes down to me being able to let them know this and convince them that they can trust me to put them in the best position." I thought that was a great answer, and I think he's done that. You look at the coaches that he has brought in. I've always said I think he's one of the rare people, head coaches, that puts his ego aside and brings in these top-notch uh, coaches where he doesn't feel threatened by someone that may be more knowledgeable, more, I don't know, just on his level of coaching. He's not threatened by that, and brings them in and allows them to do their thing without an ego. So I think he's great at that. I think he's great at many things. But I think that's really one of his strengths. I've always said this too. I never see Urban Meyer bringing in a Chip Kelly or the Matt Patricia, just because of the ego of Urban. I could be wrong, but I just think that he wanted to be the man. He was the man, and wanted to just he just wanted to be the dude. And Ryan Day wants to be the dude, and he is the dude, and puts his ego aside and puts the team first. And I think he's great. And so we're going to move forward on that. Hopefully, obviously, a big game. Um, uh, Big game coming up Saturday. I'm going to try to do a phone call here with Sammy and see if we can put him on speaker. And so we can talk a little bit about the college football. Sam, are you there?
Yeah, can you hear me?
I can, but we have a little echo feedback. I don't know how it's going to play out, but it's worth a try. Should I put you on hold here, or how am I going to do without the echo?
I don't know.
Okay. Well, give me your thoughts. Go from there.
I think you're spot on with almost everything that you said about Brian Hartline. I think it's a good fit where he is. The only thing that I would disagree with is he's not ready for a Penn State. He's not ready for a Big Ten and an SEC school. He hasn't coached before. He's got to coach, get his feet wet, and then move on to bigger and better things.
Wow, I can't. I'm sorry. It's too much going on with it. I apologize. Gonna try to unmute you. See, can't unmute you. So unmute your. It says I can't unmute you because you've chosen to be muted. You there? All right. All right. So moving forward on the college football playoffs, some real interesting things happened with the movement of the committee, and a lot of it I don't agree with, and I don't really understand their rationale. I'd love for them to come on and explain some of that. The the fact that Alabama jumped Notre Dame in the standings after I call it a lackluster win over Auburn. I know it's a rivalry game, but so was Ohio State, Michigan, and we saw what a dominant performance we had against them at their place. It was similar, and Alabama won, but it wasn't a very convincing win to me. And for them to leapfrog Notre Dame, I thought that was just, I don't agree with it. I don't understand. I would love to hear their reasoning behind that. The other, I guess, in my opinion, the not questionable, but sort of the head scratcher for me was Ole Miss moving up to the sixth position, which is huge, not only for them. They're not in the conference playoff or championship game. They the resume, they've beaten some good teams. Obviously, they lost their head coach, and I thought, in my opinion, they would. We talked the last time. I thought that would come into play, and the committee would take that into account, and that would hurt them. It seemed to help them, which just I don't know if it was like listen to Joel Klatt, and I'll use his statement. Was it a sympathy? Was it a sympathy kind of thing? I don't know, but I thought that was a little bit of a head scratcher. And when I talk about the seeding being at sixth, it's just an easier road between 6 and 7. You look at that. You look at that schedule, the bracket breakdown, and Texas A&M moving to 7. Now they got to go through way better, way harder team. I'm trying to pull that up right now. So that movement was huge for them. Texas Tech, going down to 7. Now they're in the bracket where they either have to play a Notre Dame team that I think is way better than anybody that Ole Miss is going to have to play. It's like it's going to be like a Tulane or I forget who the other team that's on the bubble, but Tulane. And would you rather play Tulane or would you rather play Notre Dame or Miami? I mean, that's a no-brainer. So, yeah, I just thought that was just a weird situation. Now, I did say my last podcast about Texas A&M not really playing the schedule of anybody else in that SEC. I thought they were, I won't say they were frauds, but I thought they were a little overrated because of them not having to play Alabama, not having to play Georgia, and not having to play somebody else. I forget who else. Who else there was, but there was 3 teams that they did not. Oh, Oklahoma. They didn't have to play Oklahoma. So yeah, that I understand a little bit about that more than I understood the jumping of Alabama over Notre Dame. But I still feel they've only have Texas A&M only has 1 loss. So if I think it's sort of a I don't know. I don't know. I shouldn't say because I really don't know. I'd love to hear the committee's response to that. And just really get clarification of why those two things happen. Now, the discussion that's really going to be interesting. You know, we talked about the Duke situation. If Duke wins, I think it's horrible, horrible, horrible for the ACC because if Duke wins, I feel like no no team from the ACC is going to be in the national playoff conversation. I don't think they're, with their resume of losses, I don't think the committee can put them in. And Virginia, if Virginia wins, I think they're in. So very, very bad for the ACC. The ACC, that I don't think the committee or whoever put this championship thing together really thought that like Florida State and Florida State and Clemson, they just haven't held their end up of that conference as being the elite teams in that conference. So I don't think the committee or whoever set this CFP guaranteed spot really thought that through. They just thought they would be in the top 10 easily, and unfortunately, that conference just hasn't lived up to the hype. And that brings up the next interesting Notre Dame, Miami, and obviously those are the teams I'm looking at, and I just feel like Notre Dame should be over Miami. I think the committee really screwed them with, like I said, the leapfrogging of Alabama, and now they have to be super nervous. I mean, I thought they were a lock. I won't say a lock. I thought they were better shape than after after this bracket came out. The having played Miami and being in the fighting for position with Miami puts them in a really tough spot. So my thoughts on that. I mean, I think and I don't know if this is 100% positive, but if Notre Dame and Miami played at a neutral site, Notre Dame would be favored, and I'm not sure. Sammy DeVos shaking his head. No, I don't know. I think they would. I don't. I'd like to see some. I was going to look that up today, and because of technical difficulties, I didn't get a chance to. But I really think they would be favored. The fact that their loss at Miami holds more weight than where the two teams are actually at right now in this moment. I think is something that has to be fixed, not just for Notre Dame, just for the moving forward. I think Notre Dame's a better football team, and I that's why I think they'd be favored on a neutral site. And yeah, have their losses are similar to Miami's. So I mean, if you look at these two teams side by side, they are pretty similar. And I guess in every tie-breaking situation of anything I've ever seen, the first tiebreaker is head to head. So I think Notre Dame's in big trouble. I still think that if the committee looked at trying to get the best 12 teams in this college football playoff, Notre Dame should be one. But I don't know. I don't understand, and I don't think it's really clear on the criteria, as we discussed last podcast. They have guarantee spots, but they're not really guaranteed. And you have to be I think you have to be in the top 10 or top something to have the guarantee. Now that I was listening to other people talk about it, and that's why the ACC should have or could have no one there because they don't have anybody in the top. I'd like to have anybody in the top 25. I'm not. I don't know if I'm right about that, but definitely not in the top 15. So hopefully this thing plays out where Duke, if Duke doesn't win, and that game's not a. I think that's going to be a good game. I think it's like a 3.5 point game. Obviously, Virginia is favored, but I think that's going to be a good game. The other game, let's talk about BYU. I mean, BYU could be out. I think, the thing about BYU is, and I think any team that's in these conversations would be happy to be in their position. This is basically a play-in game for them. I mean, the playoffs start for them today, or I'm sorry, this week. And if they win, I believe they're in. If they lose, they're out. So, say what you want about Texas Tech and BYU. I think BYU is really being disrespected as a 12.5 point underdog when their loss from being playing at Texas Tech, which is a very tough place to play. I can't read your notes, Sammy DeBull. Unmute me. I don't have you muted, Sam. Yeah, sorry, I don't have you muted.
You can't mute.
He's just chomping at the bit to say something. I know it. This sucks. I think Sam's going to have his own podcast just so I don't screw it up for him. I mean, this sucks because he's really a wealth of knowledge. I know he's done a lot of research, and this would have been awesome. But hopefully, I'm hitting the points that he would hit. So back to BYU. Yeah, this is a playoff game for them. Their playoff starts this week. They can absolutely play their way in. And what more would you want if you're vying for a position to play in a national championship game? Then what more could you want? And the Ohio State Indiana game. Obviously, we haven't really talked about that. But I mean, really, they're playing for everything. I mean, they're playing for the number one seed. They're playing for the Heisman Trophy. They're playing for the Big Ten championship. It's just the game of the year, maybe the game of the century. Sammy the Bulls trying to put a note up. I can't read again. Can't read it, Sam. The block out from your. There we go. I still can't read it. So this game is just incredibly huge for everyone, and we'll definitely try to see comments. I can't even see the comments. Let's see what the comments say. I don't have any even comments showing up, Sam. I do. You've got yourself muted again. It's on mute. So yeah, the Ohio State Buckeyes, I think, and Indiana, they're going to be 1-2. They're not going to be moved from a 1-2 position. They're just basically playing for whoever has the 1 seed and 2 seed. Again, and I don't know. Obviously, they have to play everybody, so I don't know if being the 1 seed or the 2 seed is better than the other. The 1 seed should obviously always have a better have a better opportunity, a better path to a national championship, but notoriously it hasn't been the case. So be interesting to see how that plays out, and we'll figure that out later. Georgia, Alabama. And this is where I'm going to probably get a lot of kickback. Georgia, Alabama game. You know, it seems like this is just the way the SEC runs Georgia, Alabama in the conference championship game, and I think Georgia's a the 4 or 3 seed no matter what happens. I don't if they win or lose. So the only question is if Alabama wins, I believe Texas Tech and may get bumped out as a bye seed, a top 4. And the reason being, I think maybe Alabama moves up and you have 2 SEC teams. I don't know. It's just I think there's a scenario where Texas Tech lose their bye position, the 4th seed, because Georgia would take that, and then if Georgia wins, obviously they're a lock at 3, and Texas Tech wins, they're a lock at 4. Now, if Texas Tech just like lays an egg and uh, doesn't beat BYU as a 12.5 point favorite, then we have a lot of other things to talk about. But if Texas Tech wins, Georgia wins, I think the top 4 positions don't change. So there's the breakdown of that. And yeah, Sammy just sent me a text that basically the Georgia Alabama game is playing for the 3 seed. So yeah, that's sort of what I was thinking. But let's say Georgia wins. Is there a scenario where Alabama doesn't get in? I that's a question. I mean, as far down as Texas A&M dropped, and I know it was a loss to Texas, but it was a rivalry game and it was on the road. This is a neutral site game, so if I say neutral site, but anyway, if that happens, I think there's a scenario where Alabama drops and that may drop out depending on the other games and who wins and what spots are at large available. So that'd be interesting to see, and I'm definitely looking forward to see. I hope I shouldn't say that. I'm hoping Alabama loses because I really think that's the only way Notre Dame has an opportunity to get in my opinion. I mean, unless the committee just I don't know. Unless the committee does something again that I find difficult to understand, and just because they've already set it up that it comes down to the Miami Notre Dame game that's been played, the head-to-head matchup, which Miami won. So, and neither team has a conference, or neither team are playing in a conference championship game. And that brings up another point about Notre Dame. Do they now, because of this, if they were in a conference, they wouldn't be in a conference championship game with that many losses. But if they don't if they don't make the playoffs, do they consider joining a conference where they're able to play themselves in through a conference championship game if that comes in? If I were them, I think the perfect scenario would be to join the ACC, seeing what I'm seeing right now, the eye test. And I know things change over the years, but I think they would be a dominant force in the ACC. So if I'm Notre Dame, I'm looking hard at joining a conference, and I'm looking hard at the ACC because in my opinion, that's a clearer path. I shouldn't say easier. Right now, it's an easier path to being involved in the national playoffs. So take that for what it's worth, Notre Dame fans. And I think really we've hit pretty much everything on this, on breaking down this college playoff championship games. And now it's just time basically to sit back and watch. and I can't wait. I mean, we're 3 days from the big game, and I think the first game plays. There's a couple games tomorrow night, and obviously be watching that, and hopefully we can get more clarity and as these games play. And I just really, it's great to be able to have these conversations. And when I'm as an Ohio State fan, when you don't have to worry about subjective committees' decisions, it's so much easier and so much more fun to watch things happen. If I was a Notre Dame fan, I would definitely not like the situation the way the college football playoffs or the committee are I don't know, defining who's in, who's out. So, and I would, and Miami, and Texas has an argument. The thing about Texas is they always said there wouldn't be a penalty for playing these early big games, but and Texas lost early, and they've actually played better as of late. But they've had some losses that were, they've lost 3 games. That if you lose 2 games, you're in the conversation. You lose 3 games, I don't know. And the win over Texas A&M, it was a good, yes, absolutely rivalry game. It was a great win for them. But as I stated before, I think Texas A&M was really a little overrated because of the fact they didn't have to play those 3 big teams in the SEC. And say what you want about um, the committee's ability to, I don't know, I won't say pick the best 12 teams. I do feel they did see that same thing, and the reason for the big drop to 7 is for that reason. So, and and for Texas, and I think that hurt Texas in the fact that if they would have gone through that gauntlet of those 3 teams and then Texas beats them, I think it holds more weight and you have more reason to argue. So anyway, um, next podcast is going to be this weekend, and we're moving back to the wellness arena. I'm going to do a podcast on the breath work and grounding. It's something that I've been doing now. The grounding I've been doing for quite a while. The breath work I've been doing for over 6 months, and both of those things were have been life changing for me. And it's simple, it's easy. Again, the things that I bring up on this wellness podcast are things that you don't need equipment. You don't need um, to have a computer. These are things that you can wake up, do in the morning, and now I'm doing it all day long. But you can do these things, and it doesn't take anything but effort and commitment, and I will explain on that. But so that'll be coming up this weekend. I'll send out to the social medias of when I'm going to be doing that live. If you have any questions on those topics, send them to the Run Good Lifestyle YouTube channel, and we can address those if I can. So I want to thank you for listening, and sorry about the technical difficulties. I need to get this stuff figured out. If anybody who is listening that knows how to technically hook up StreamYard with my YouTube channel and bring guests on, would love to talk. So thanks again, and be kind to one another. And like I say before, I try to end my podcast with this, but you never know what impact you're going to make on someone's lives just by giving them just a moment of your time, just acknowledging their presence, and trying to help out just by even trying to just I just be kind, and it's sometimes hard when we're all in our little world to notice what anybody else is going through. And so that's all I have to say on that. I want to thank my sponsor, Wentz Insurance Agency. For all your insurance needs, call Wentz Insurance, 740 653-5535, and go Bucks. Thanks for listening.